on our bus to join the onward my master Atlan. Chapter 60. The man weighed by regret. Then let's just go. We can't go. He found us out. He found us once. He'll find us again. And as long as he thinks of me as his tool, then he won't ever stop looking for us. That doesn't mean we can't just run. We can run and hide so he can never find us. How long would that be? I won't force you and Naruto to run like that. Not for me. And you heard what he said about the people he finds along our way. I don't care about them. Just you. Kushina smiled knowingly as her tail wagged softly behind her. Her hand came up to his cheek, and he leaned into her cool touch. Realizing how hot he had gotten in anger, she chuckled. Please don't say stuff I know you don't mean. You would never want to endanger the lives of innocents for anything. Then all I need is an instant. He grabbed her hand and squeezed it, distracting for a second. Give me that and I'll end it. He's considered that. We'll be on the White Fang's list forever if you do that. He smiled at him, a smile doing everything he could to hide the sadness and heartbreak dwelling inside her, just so she could be strong for him. I don't want you to fight forever, but I will. I'll fight if that means you don't have to do this. Minato lost the strength in his legs and dropped to his knees as he hung his head. Just don't do this, Minato. Her voice was soft and kind as she kneeled with him and looked him in the eyes. You've been fighting for me for years. You fought for me and gave me a chance when I truly believed there was no one that ever would. You've given me hope, friendship, love, a home, a family, things I had given up on experiencing a long time ago. A tear came down her face as her voice cracked. I don't want to do this. Going back with him, making my screen crawl. But if I can't protect you, but if I can protect you, it's worth it. And tears came down Minto's face as well. But I promised I'd protect you, and you have. She embraced him and ran a hand through the back of his hair. But now I need you to be here and protect Naruto, protect what we made, and that will make this all the easier. Can you do that? He couldn't answer, but he held her a little tighter and buried his face into her neck. Kushina, he failed to finish as she cupped his face in her hands and brought him in for a deep kiss. The gesture used to fill him with warmth, but even now he couldn't help but feel cold, because even though it was meant to be reassuring, it reminded him of all the moments of love he shared with her over their lives and how all of that would go away. Her sweet lips pulled from his, and he looked into her teary-eyed smile. I know, I do too. It was several more minutes before they separated and Kushina went off to accept Danzo's invitation. Mito remained on his knees in the middle of the room before he took a shaky breath and wiped his eyes. He stood back up, looked around the room and realized just how empty it was going to be without her. He stepped up to his son's door and hesitated to knock with the intent of telling Naruto his mother was gone. His son would look at him in anger and disgust and blame him for letting her go, and he would know that was true, but he promised that he would protect their son, and that meant accepting his spite. He knocked at the door. Naruto? No answer. Naruto? Nothing. Minato carefully pushed the door open and looked inside. The messy bed with the unkept cover, the spare book about heroes, plants and cooking, a punching bag for him to practice on, and an open window. Terror and dread gripped Minato's heart as he went dashing outside. He looked around for any signs of his son and noticed the grass pressed down with the footprint heading for the town. He looked out and saw a bulkhead already lifted up from the town and headed into the sky. Minato wasted no time, disappearing in a yellow flash and reappearing in the air. He repeated his process over and over as he started to rise through the sky. Their ship continued to speed off and descending higher with every passing second. Soon enough, it would reach an altitude that would affect Minto's body, and he wouldn't be able to do anything. But he was gaining on it fast, and once he reached the front, he would force the pilot to descend. He was not going to let those monsters take them. He approached the ship and noticed that some of the finer details on the hull and wings. He held out his hand as he continued to get closer. The setting sun shined off the side of the ship and nearly blinded him. They were fast approaching a black cloud. Minto realized too late that the black cloud really was a griffin burrowed into his chest and forced the air out of his lungs. Minto gasped for more as he and the Grim started to topple through the air at dangerous speeds. He wanted to keep moving, but the frantic Grim was blocking his vision and biting for his head. He wondered if he had run into him because of all negativity he was letting out. The sharp beak of the monster continued to snap and bite for his face as Minato shoved his elbow into the creature's neck in an effort to keep it away. The wind whipped around his neck and deafened his ears as he looked over his shoulder and saw the landscape coming. They were falling in the middle of a grove of tall trees that would shred through them both. Minato roared and flipped himself through the air so the griffin was under him. The instant they hit the tree, Minato vanished to land in a lake he spotted not too far. The force of the impact is still ran through his body, and bubbles floated out of his mouth while he screamed. With pain aching his entire body, he swam up to the bank and pulled himself out. He and the griffin let out one last dying cry before dissolving. The blonde man panted for air and looked up in the sky. The ship was gone. He looked around, but whatever wasn't blocked by trees showed a clear and empty sky. He had lost them. Mito fell to his knees and screamed for no one to hear. Hunting, hurry up, raise those legs and move like your life depends on it. That goes double for you, Mr. Arca. The old adage says that as long as you're faster than the slowest person, you'll be safer. But it looks like that won't appeal to you. I'm trying, sir. John and a number of other students continued to run through the obstacle course while evading the black, red-eyed dummies that chased them. They did their best to avoid tripping over any small obstacles that they wouldn't notice while running, but they were definitely doing well so far. Off to the side, another group of students were testing out their marksmanship against some moving targets. They only had a split second between shooting at grim innocents and cutouts holding weapons. It was those instant decisions that decided a lot of situations out in the real world. There were a few students who missed the mark and realized they needed to seriously work on their sharpshooting, and then there were others like Ruby who proved just how it was done. Everyone in the seminar, him included, paused and clapped for the older girl wearing the beret. He had never seen a such precise shooting with a minigun before. He thought it impossible to not decimate everything when one of those things fired, but apparently he was wrong, and she certainly seemed to revel in the attention. And finally, there was a group to the side practicing combat and disarming each other. All these students were equipped with a variety of unique and unusual weapons, so learning how to combat them would prove beneficial if they were ever faced with a weapon similar to it out on a mission. Minto also noticed that there were more students attending his optional seminar than when he started. It might have been because Miss Goodwitch advised him to take at least one for experience, but he liked to think the students were talking so much about how awesome him and his training was that others just came to join in. That's his story, and he's sticking to it. He looked down at his timer and saw the seconds pass over the hour marker. How time flies when you were having fun. If things didn't work out in Skigan, he would totally consider a job teaching. It seemed like a ton of fun helping the next generation learn. Okay, everyone, that's enough for today. With some sighing relief that the training had stopped him, while there's whined about just getting to the good part. I think I'm done running for the day, or maybe this semester. Hey, when we get back, can I try that move again? I think I almost had it. Miss Coco, do you mind if I have your autograph? Can I see your weapon again? Please let me have your number. Now, boys and girls, there's plenty of meat to go around. Just not nearly enough of you to handle it. Minto smiled as he watched the huntsman and huntresses banter and bicker so lightly. Were he and his friends that easygoing and childish? He'd like to think he was more mature and together, but that would mean the church and other school memories, and Lord knows how traumatizing that would be. He was brought out of his thoughts when he felt his scroll shake in his pocket. Fishing it out, he opened the screen and saw the message it displayed. His smile thinned and his expression hardened when he saw who it was from. Found something. Still up. His hand tightened down around the device so quickly he had to consciously stop from cracking the screen. Well, time to see if he had earned any vacation days. Hunting. Minto's head throbbed and ached as he rested it on the counter and was forced to listen to the awful music played in the bar. The lyrics were so bad he couldn't even understand them, or maybe that was because he was reaching the point where everything sounded slurred and echoey. Here, mate, like you ordered. The bartender poured a drink out in front of him and then slid the glass out for him to take. The elderly woman showed no different expression. The disillusion and accustomed to all the sorrowful and sullen people that filled her bar, but nodded to the haggard blonde. Enjoy. Did he order something? His mind was so foggy he could barely recollect. It looked more expensive and stronger than what he normally got. So why? Oh, that's right. It was to celebrate. It's the anniversary today. 1 year ago since he was left alone. He reached out for the glass and held it up, some of it spilling over the edge before he held it firmly again. The image of a red-haired woman and blonde boy appeared in his eyes before he raised the drink to his mouth. He paused just short of down it when he felt something shake his leg. He looked down and fished for his scroll before bringing it up to his ear. What? Hello, am I speaking to Mr. Minato Namikaze? He didn't recognize the young male voice on the other end, but gave a grumbled response. What is it? Oh, well, hello, sir. I hope I'm not getting you at a bad time, but I work for the Vale Postal Service, and we have a fair amount of mail here that never reached you. Mail? Yes, sir. By our record, it says you moved quite a bit while you lived in Vale, and with those constant changes, some mail slips through the cracks. We rounded up quite a bit of it and wanted to know if we could send it to you. Sure, whatever, do what you want. Excellent. Now we have an address in Mistral and we just have to confirm it is your current. Yeah. Minato ended the call before he dragged any further, and his head hurt even worse. Dropping his scroll on the counter, he grabbed his glass again and raised it up. Here's to you both. The glass suddenly cracked and all the liquor seeped out and spilled to the counter. Now that just wasn't fair. Hey, a gruff voice stepped up to the counter and nearly slumped over it the moment he touched it. He struggled to raise his hand and talk to the bartender. You got anything on the shelf that floors you after a single cup? Makes your body drop it and puts a hole in your memory for who knows how long? Because I'm pretty sure I need something a little stronger than that. Sorry, only one bottle and it went to the guy next to you. Oh, well, no problem. The Varian slid up beside Minato and looped an arm around his shoulder to grab his attention. Hey, buddy, that's a damn fine drink you got there. So listen, cause I got something to say. I've had a real pain in the ass time making my way around the kingdom, trying to do this lousy job for an old friend of mine. No specifics, no extra pay. I didn't even get the chance to pay for board, so I'm kind of pissed. So you mind sharing the bottle with a fellow Minato? Oh, it's you. Should recognize you from the smell. Hey, you hardly want to talk about smell. The scruffy man chuckled and pulled up a stool beside him. A tattered red cloak fluttered over his back as he clapped his old classmate on the back. Jeez, and I was worried I'd have to steal the bottle off of you or something. But since we're such good friends, you're from your glass, right? Crow. Mito's voice was low and his eyes were dull despite the glare he sent towards his old colleague. They didn't ask you to come here or anything, did they? No one asked me to come to a dingy bar, and last time I checked, no offense, ma'am. He quickly amended towards the barkeep. This was just where I ended up. Why does someone have to send me here? Mito didn't answer, but Crow looked at the state he was in, and then at the bottle. And when did you start frequenting the taverns anyway? Mito had no answer for him. I'm sure Kushina wouldn't approve of your state, and don't you have a kid? What would he think? Mito was sure he kept everything under control, but the glass in his hand cracked a little further under his increased grip. He dropped the ruined glass and grabbed another one behind the counter. That seemed to be enough for Crow as his eyes turned to drink Minato poured. He sighed and reached behind the counter as well. So how does it taste? Minato downed the glass and flinched from the strength and aftertaste that followed before exhaling. Better hurt than most. So my kind of drink. Crow poured himself a glass of the same drink before filling Minato's back up. He placed the bottle down and held his glass out to quell in the pain, but then forgetting where it comes from. Minato stared down in the dark liquid before raising it up. To the pain. Hunting. Is he doing it? I can't tell. Maybe he just went to sleep. Shh! Shut up! Minato growled and silenced the audience before looking back at the task at hand. Okay, Gaura. Now imagine a puddle at your feet. You're standing in it, but it's actually much deeper than you can believe. Now slowly, put your hand in, and then the rest of your arm. Just a hand. The raccoon boy responded while shutting his eyes and focusing. His team sitting together with Noctix, Ruby, and Juniper, as well as Sun and Neptune, all watching in silence as the young funist tested out the new technique. He strained him. If it's just my hand, then. He opened his eyes and looked to see his left hand covered in brown aura. He carefully opened and closed it to test that his control did not suddenly vanish. When it did not, he let go of his concentration as the aura vanished completely. That was so cool. The drawing tables quickly went to an uproar of cheers and congratulations for their friends' efforts. Nora looked especially glad for her new friend's advancements as she cheered. Oh man, that is so cool. I want to be able to cover myself in aura and my semblance too. Oh, if I could be covered in pink lightning all the time, I'd rule all of Remnant. By the end of the day, no one could stop me. Thank God you can't, Ren whispered. Not yet, Nora declared, hearing her friend's concern and taking it as a challenge. But just you wait, I'll get there. Good. Maybe that'll be the next thing we can do for fun. Yang said, her face falling as she propped her head up on her hands. Because so far, watching people glare at their hands to make them glow has been the most interesting thing we've done in God's know how long. Oh, how blessed we are to have this revolutionary form of entertainment. She started clapping sarcastically. Oh, thank you. Still sore about being stuck in Beacon. I need to go out, stretch my wings, ride my bike, let this cage bird free. They ignored Yang's cries as she slowly grew more desperate and less understandable. Naruto instead looked over at his friends with a grin. But I'm seriously impressed, Gara. You figured out how to do this cloaking thing a lot faster than I did. It's all in my hand, but that's still incredible progress. In just a few days, you already got the hang of it. Now all you need to do is extend it. It took me at least a week to get that far. Another week after that to get it down my arm. That and a lot of me getting my ass kicked by my dad and his friends to get it down, not to deflate it. Yeah, that part wasn't as fun. It sounds like fun. Shut up, but seriously. Oh, way to go, man! Naruto grinned and then he held up his hand towards the raccoon. Gaara stared at the offer in silence before looking towards his team for advice. They sighed and nodded, motioning for him to obviously reciprocate. Gaara did, awkwardly slapping Naruto's hand in return as the whiskered blonde blinked. You haven't done that before, have you? No, I have not. That might be something you need to practice on too. Naruto! Dad, the young fox looked back and saw his father waving him over from the other side of the cafeteria. The young huntsman quickly dismissed himself from his group and came running up to his father. When he got closer, he finally noticed that his father was out of the casual or even professional clothes he usually wore around the school. Instead, he was dressed in a tight dark blue outfit and vest to protect against the gunshots and blades, as well as holster any of his knives or for quick use, as well as a bag over his shoulder. Naruto recognized it as the old outfit his father wore before going off on the job. Are you going somewhere? Just for a little bit. Naruto shrugged the bag. The constant clattering around as he grinned. Hopefully it won't take long, and it won't be any trouble. I'm just meeting an old acquaintance out of the city. You need to be dressed up in your gear and probably packing a few sharp toys. You don't know my friends. This is the least I can do in case things hit the fan. Naruto narrowed his eyes suspiciously as Minato just grinned nonchalantly. He sighed. Fine, I'll trust you. But do you remember to bring your big guns, right? Of course. I've still got my ultimate lightning bolt piercing through the clouds and rocking the heavens violently crash. Skycutter, Dad. It's just called Skycutter. Well, I vetoed you on the name choice. Remember? I remember, but I also think you two just never gave it a chance to sink in. Thank God for that. You know, you're surprisingly cocky for someone who was basically grounded at school. Naruto flinched and looked aside in a mixture of shame and embarrassment as his cheeks went pink and his ears lay flat on his head. Minato chuckled and patted his head. I'm just teasing. Skycutter is a cool name. Don't pat my head. Naruto swatted his hand away and looked back when he heard the faint giggles and laughter from his table. The young blonde groaned and scratched his head before looking up at the amused expression on his father's face. Wherever you're going, you are going to be safe, right? Weren't you the one most recently getting into trouble? Yep, and because you're my dad, I'm sure that comes from you. Naruto immediately shot back and shut Minato up. So just be careful, okay? Well, since it's us, I can promise I won't get into trouble, but we both know that probably won't last. Father and son both sighed. So how about I just promise to come back safe and sound? Yeah, that's good enough for me. They smiled and laughed before sharing a quick hug. Come back soon, Dad. You got it. Hunting. There were only a few people out so late at night, and some of them were still sober enough to send him odd looks as he stumbled back home. He had a bag in his hand filled with bottles. He would soon partake in and was still buzzed from his last round. He felt sick, and his head felt like a migraine was trying to break it open. He needed this drink now. Minato reached his door and fumbled with his keys before finally unlocking it. He pushed it open and looked inside to see the sad state his house had devolved into. It wasn't just the untidiness or the bottles that now filled the table and rolled over the ground. What was the point in cleaning up a home he hated being alone in? He sighed and stepped in. I'm home. What? Minato nearly tumbled inside as he looked down to see a box by his door had caught his foot. He picked it up with a groan and saw the label from Vale. When did he order anything from Vale? He dropped the box on the table and laid his bag out beside it. His cans and bottles rattled and rolled out as he pulled out a knife and quickly sliced off the tape. When he looked inside, he saw an assortment of files and letters and developments of different condition. Some were over a decade old, while others arrived just a few weeks before he moved to Mistral. The blond man started to file through the mail to see what he had. Barrel's notices, nothing of importance or interest. He sighed. He reached for a can before popping it open. He noticed one strange envelope among the lot that was different from the others. He cut it open and started to read. The pen, he said, disappeared, and he stopped inches from downing his drink. Dear Mato, I hope this letter finds you at a prosperous time and in good health. I think that's how these letters start anyway. They're supposed to be formal for people you haven't seen in a long time. Did I make it weird? I made it weird, didn't I? I'll just assume you think this is weird and move on. And I'll bank on you empathizing with my awkwardness so it can be forgiven. Remember, we were the awkward duo back in Beacon. I know that sounds like a terrible superhero team from a bad comic, but it kind of fit us well. So let's stick together in solidarity when we aren't actually together. Mito sat up in his chair and looked scarcely at the old piece of paper. I guess I'm getting off track, so a few paragraphs in is perfect time to actually get to the meat of this letter and say hi again. I'm well, and I hope you are the same. Last time I saw you was a graduation day at Beacon. We hugged each other, and I hope to see you again soon. I also may have left a quick little gift on your cheek, but we don't have to bring that up. I want to send you this letter because I was looking through a register of huntsmen and hunters working jobs recently, and noticed you were living in Bell. It's kind of sad we were living in the same kingdom, but I totally lost track of you and the others over the years. I'm not sure about how things turned out, but the last time I checked, you were going to run off somewhere with Kushina, right? I really hoped you did because you two were so cute together, and I loved it. Plus, I think she was always happiest around you. I don't know you felt the same way. I hope it worked out for the both of you. As for me, well, I had a baby, and I'm living with Taiyang and Crow now. She has to be the cutest creature ever brought into existence ever. I would have sent you pictures, but they would have labeled this letter as a destructive hazard from sheer adorableness. That and the papers were already making it too heavy. Her name is Ruby Rose, and Taiyang and Crow say she looks just like me, but I don't think I've ever looked as cute as her. But I think the cutest thing is when she runs around and plays with her big sister. She waves her little arms and cries out for Yaya to come and play with her, and Yang doesn't waste a second to drop what she's doing to come see her. I nearly had a heart attack. She's Yang Xiaolong, by the way, and she's my stepdaughter. She's Taiyang's first daughter with Raven. I thought Raven would see things like Crow and decided there were more to her life than what she thought, but she made her choice and left, but she didn't leave without abandoning her family and taking away what she had with them. When I saw Taiyang so broken, holding that crying little girl in his arms that no longer had a mother around, I didn't know what to do. To leave them both when they needed help just felt like the worst thing I could have done. I know Raven never really struck us as the kind of girl who would want to raise a family, but how in the world could she leave when she already had one? It doesn't make sense to me. So I came to help however I could, and Yang started to call me mommy. We had Ruby not long after that, and now I'm surprised of how suddenly I became a mother of two. It's kind of funny when I think back to when we were in Beacon. Remember when getting missions and passing classes and fighting in the tournament were the most important things in our lives? I spent my entire life dreaming of becoming a huntress and striving to make my way through to reach it. Now I'm one, and when I look down at the faces of those two girls, I completely forget everything else except them. Funny how things change, huh? A chuckle escaped Mito's lips. I hope you are okay, and I really hope things are working out for you and everyone. Right now I'm straining my wrist, making cookies nearly every day. Taiyang is struggling to keep the girls entertained, and Crow is finding out how hard it is to put two toddlers to bed before he's the one passing out and taking naps. So in short, it's all pretty good here. I also wanted to send this letter to ask if you were free to come and visit. I'm sure Taiyang would love to have you, and I bet it would be fun to see you and Crow butt heads again after all these years. And if you have any children too, you can bring them along and they can play with Yang and Ruby, and we can start planning their wedding and what our grandchildren's name will be. Just kidding, unless you're totally up for that and your kids are super cute, because then we will totally do it. If you can write me back, or just text or call me instead. I'm just sending a letter because I thought it fit the mood, but God knows when you might actually get this. Just have to cross my fingers and hope for the best. I want to see you again to catch up and so we can all be friends again. It'll be great if our families become so close. My girl's starting to call you Uncle Minato. Not sure how I'd feel about being called Auntie, but I'm sure I'd get used to it, and I want to do it soon, so we don't miss the chance. I'd hate to miss you when we're so close and waste the chance to meet up again. Hope to hear from you soon. Sincerely, your friend. Minato wiped his face so no more tears would fall and smudge up the words on the paper, but no matter how hard he tried, they continued to fall. He quickly became short of breath as he looked around his home once again. He looked over himself, the state of his clothes and the smell coming out of his body and breath, and then to the cans in his hand and the bottles on the table. He clenched his teeth and dropped the paper before he could crush in his hand. This was not what he was supposed to do. This was not what was supposed to happen. This was not how he wanted things to be, but he let them fall to this, and now he had to live with it. Hunting. Minato made his way through the street as he searched for his contact. The town was very shabby and run down, with only a few shops for food and a handful of taverns. It probably served more as a resting stop between other settlements than an actual living space. There were a lot of shady individuals making their way around and eyeing him up as he passed. He was sure that there would have been even more looks if he wasn't hiding his gear under a long cloak. His contact was already in the town, so the best chance to find him was in the tavern. And get out! And if I see you around here again, I'll blow your brains out! Minto looked back and saw a figure being thrown out and into the mud. The vagrant picked himself up and cleaned off his burgundy coat. Fine, I'm going, but make sure to pass that offer on to the waitress, okay? Tell her I would rock her very concept of the world. That's my daughter. Good, so you'll have plenty of chances to tell her. The owner yelled and slammed the door shut as the mud-covered man wiped his face clean and fixed his collar. Cheating establishment anyway. You're not telling the father to tell his daughter some creepy man, probably twice her age, is interested is a slimy thing to do. The muddy man looked back and saw Minato standing a few feet away with an unamused look on his face. I'm pretty sure it's my duty to take in menaces like you. You sure you want to do that? The man with long white hair tied in a ponytail turned to face him with a challenging glare. I might mess up that nice fighting suit. You look so handsome in City Boy. You'll never fit in around here. So I'm supposed to get as dirty and muddy as you to fit in. Look at all these scumbags. This is at least the minimum to blend in. You blend in too well. I'm a man of my skills, as you are so fond of telling me. Minato sighed. How have you been, sir? Oh, don't call me sir. The old man scowled. That makes me feel old. You are old. I'm old too. You're only as old as you feel, and the last 5 ladies that accompanied me made me feel mighty young. And where might they be exactly? Probably still sharing the bed somewhere in a different inn. You are sick. Minato shook his head with a smile before he started to laugh. The old man chuckled as well, and they slapped each other on the back with hearty smiles on their faces. I'm always glad to see you. Okay. What do you expect me not to be? I always think I'm going to find your mug in the obituary as a nameless body found without his pants. Now that would be a hell of a way to go, and I'm sure enough of the ladies know my name to at least tell the obituaries it's Jiraiya. Lord knows they scream it enough. All right, let's move on from your conquest and settle down. The older man whined sadly, but followed as they walked into a different tavern and spotted a free table they quickly procured. Jiraiya plopped into his seat with groan as Minato joined him. Anything to drink? I'd love something stiff, but if you ain't drinking, then don't bother. Jiraiya waved the offer off and locked his hands behind his head. He flinched away. He stretched too far and massaged his shoulder. What stings? That stings. Did you get mud in it again? The older man shrugged with a nervous grin as Minato shook his head. See, this is why you need to make more regular visits to the office. We can fix it up, and Tsunade can make sure there's no stress on the body. Oh, stop selling me the company health plan. I'm a freelancer, remember? So working for an organization is not my thing, and that's the last I want to hear about it. Jiraiya rotated his arm a few times to get used to the egg before he sighed. Plus, Tsunade would never let me have a moment of peace, and she'd boss me around every chance she's got. I'll take the grill on any day of the week, and don't tell her I said that. Minato rolled his eyes before Jiraiya sat up with narrowed eyes. So, do you want to get to business, or do you want to keep talking about this old toad? So you do have something, Minato said. Okay, then what did you find? I can tell you it wasn't easy getting this information. Had to go through contacts, greased a few palms, broke a finger or two, and loosened some sealed lips. Finally started to get somewhere when I found a couple of smugglers in a port town. They told me about a large group of people with red and white fans on their backs that they had transported from Vecchio to Vale. So you found out how they got into Ville? Yep. After a few rounds, I got one of them to tell me about a weapons dealer they recommended and tracked him down. Apparently, he sold a ton of serious hardware and ammunition to a group of private buyers. The same kind of equipment that the Chiha were reported to use from the civilian sightings you got. After that, I just had to track a train of similar arms and ammo, and I have an idea of where they are. All right. So where are they? Mito asked. There's something else I need to tell you. Jirai continued. While I was looking for dealers, I found one who was selling off even bigger guns and weapons to make an even larger group. He was a Faunus, and he was a very big supporter of the cause. Mito's eyes widened, slowly realizing that his friend was getting at as the white-haired man nodded. He was supplying the White Fang with artillery. He had a fence off of an army base. You keep saying was because when I went to pay him a visit, I found his home ransacked with signs of a struggle, but he was nowhere to be found. There were some lines of blood along the ground, so I think he was interrogated for whatever he knew. Jirai scratched his nose cheekily. My genuine intuition told me that someone smuggling weapons to a sector on an international terrorist organization wasn't going to do so without keeping some kind of records. Jirai reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small ledger he dropped on the table. And I was right. This is it. Yep. Jirai reached out with a gloved hand and flipped it open. A veritable shit ton of ammunition to be moved out towards this area. Jirai smirked. Do you know why I asked you to come see me here at this town? Because despite its lesser than spectacular architecture and the overall sleazy level of its citizens, a lot of people pass through here to get to the big job provider, a giant dust rig that supplies a lot of the power to some of the settlements further south of the city, a rig that doesn't treat its Faunus workers as well as others. So, the White Fang and Uchiha, I don't know when the move is being made. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, but I'm sure this is where they strike next. But this isn't concrete. Mito desperately pointed at the book. There's no guarantee they're both going to be there at the same time. That's right. Jirai finally nodded. The White Men are going to attack that rig sometime soon. Whether Uchiha know about the attack and make a move depends on what that supplier told them. I just thought I should tell you they were both going to be here because I know how desperately you've been looking for them. Jirai's face hardened, all levity abandoned as he glared at the younger man. And now that you know that, I need to know how you proceed, because if you're going to do some dumb shit, then I need to stop you. I came here prepared for a fight if the need arises, Mito responded, but if they're both going to be here, then it's not a fight I can risk facing alone. He pulled out his scroll. Jirai would is situated in Beacon with a small force along with him. I plan to call them when I see for myself what the White Fang and Uchiha, when I see that the White Fang and Uchiha are here. If they are, we can kill two birds with one armada. Kinda sucks you have to rely on the toy soldiers for assistance, but I'm glad to hear you aren't gonna try picking a fight. Jirai leaned back in his chair. So, should I come with you? No, come on. No, you've already done enough of getting all this information from me. You don't even work for Skigen, and you shouldn't be involved in this anymore. I was involved when I decided to take in and raise an orphan, and now here we are. Jirai counted. You seriously don't want me having your back? No, I'll be fine. Jirai didn't look impressed, but Mito just nodded. Come on, it's me we're talking about. That's exactly why I'm worried. Hunting. Jirai pushed the door open and was surprised to see it was already unlocked. If nothing else, he should be worried that Minato was getting so sloppy as to leave the home unguarded like that. He liked to think he raised him better than that. The old toad walked in and saw the state inside before he spotted the man himself. His heart dropped a little to see the boy he watched grow into a man, look so broken, a shell of his former self. The blond man looked to be passed out on the table, a can in one hand as he used his arm as a pillow. Some other bottles were within arm's reach and an old piece of paper by their side. He wished he could relieve his surrogate son of his pain, but knew it was not that easy. It was never easy. The old man reached for the can of beer to pry it out. Mito's other hand shot up and grabbed Jiraiya's wrist before he could touch him. He was sure the pressure being applied would have made him flinch in pain if the appendage was still flesh and blood. Mito lifted his head and carefully opened and closed his eyes, testing the morning light on them and shrinking away when it started to hurt. He finally started to notice that he was holding someone's wrist and looked up, reeling back in surprise and letting it go when he realized it was his former mentor. Oh, Jiraiya, sorry about that. I didn't. It's fine. He interrupted before looking the younger man over. Are you okay? Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize I was on the table. He rolled his neck and hissed at the soreness in his limb from how he slept. After a moment to take in where he was, the blond man looked at the can in his hand and stood up. Can you take this? Mito offered it to the white-haired man. I need to take a shower. The Otto took the can and looked inside to see it was flat and still full. After a moment, he looked over to the table and saw the other bottles hadn't been opened or drunk from either. And what about these? Those? Do whatever you want with them. And he did just that, upending them over the sink and watching the dark fluid swirl down and drain down the drain and out of the house. A waste of good liquor. But if it was getting away from Minato, then to hell with it. He placed the bottles to the side once they were empty and dropped down to the table. Once he was seated, Jiraiya let out a breath of relief when he heard the shower going in the other room. And Minato wasn't just trying to stall. When some of Minato's old teammates asked him to check up on the depressed blonde, he had expected to meet with a drunken mess and opposition. So what changed? Jiraiya reached for the piece of paper on the table. Oh, that would do it. If I knew you were coming, I would have cleaned up a little. Minato emerged from the bathroom a few minutes later, toweling off his head and looking fresher after a good soak. He took the seat opposite Jiraiya and looked down at the letter he was reading. I only got it last night. I remember her. Jiraiya chuckled. She was a funny kid. I remember you and her were pretty close friends, and if she had daughters, I'm pretty sure they're just as beautiful as her. Minato shook his head while Jiraiya slipped the letter back over to him. They sat together in silence for a few moments until Jiraiya spoke up. I'm sure your friends will be glad to see you lucid. Yeah, there are a lot of things I need to set right with them. Minato agreed. They tried to help me when I needed it most, and I didn't even try to give them the chance. I bet Chose is gonna throw a fit when he finds out a letter from an ex-girlfriend got you out of the funk. Minato made to correct him, but Jiraiya was laughing so hard he couldn't get a word in edgewise. Once the older man started to calm down, he spoke. I need your help with something. Before you do anything, you have to tell me that you help me. Jiraiya spoke firmly. Minato opened his mouth, but Jiraiya cut him off. A shower and a morning clarity aren't going to convince anyone that you're miraculously better. Not when all this is piled up against you. Minato looked around his home. You need help. There's no guarantee that you're going to keep this mindset by tomorrow. We'll call Tsunade for tips. Yes, let's do that. I'm not going to ignore what happened, but I need you to do something for me as well. Jiraiya looked at his former charge in silence before noting the look of certainty in Minato's eyes. He leaned back in his chair and nodded. Okay, what do you need me for? I need you to contact some of your informants and get a network working. Also, I'll need some help in meeting with some old associates to ask for their help too. Okay, and that's for what? Getting their pictures out to Kushina and Naruto. People we can trust, people that won't report it to authorities and try to bring them in. I need to know if something happened to them, and if something does, what if they get back to us, and if they're dead, if they're already gone. Minato struggled, looking sick as he talked before nodding. Then at least I'll know. Hunting. Everyone gather your supplies. We'll sub in 30. Han walked out as the White Fang members sounded off their agreements and made to grab their weapons. We head down the tunnels and then make the rest of the way on foot. So keep what you carry light and effective. Hurry up. Impressive how you changed from an unskilled newbie having just joined the White Fang to unskilled newbie barking out orders like top dog or top cult in this case. Hold your tongue. Han snapped to the young man who just chuckled at his anger. You're only being brought along because Orochimaru insisted the leaders to allow it. If it was up to me, I would leave you conniving little shits down here in the shadows where you belong. Damn, that's pretty harsh to say to a fellow Faunus. Kitamura jumped down and strolled up to the tired man with a smirk. Aren't you supposed to be a leader to all of our people as one of Menageries' majesties? It's noble guard. Another term was used to degrade us by the humans. Right, because they're both so elegant and subtle. Han's eyes narrowed dangerously, but the Elysium soldiers simply took it in stride. I once thought all Faunus would rally together for the same cause and see what needed to be done. That getting back at humans for the countless injustice would unite us. But I realized not all Faunus see how this course of action will help us. Han's eyes narrowed even sharper as he clenched his fist and covered his forearm and arm. even those just like me had wavered and ended up on the wrong side of this conflict, and you, one of our brothers, are only cooperating because your leader ordered you to. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Kinemura shrugged. Glad to see you're not beholden to the Messiah role anymore. No, now I know I have to focus on those that wish to change, and those that stand in my way, or those that impede me, he said while stepping up closer to Kinemura and forcing the shorter man to crane his head back to look up at him. I cannot be bothered worrying about their well-beings. Well, how about you worry more about yourself than others? We know how to take care of ourselves out there, while you are steadily realizing just how worthless you are in a fight. Kinemura mocked while patting his hand against the large man's chest. You still have a long way to go before you're actually leading these people through anything. Now, if you excuse me, I have to prepare for the mission. The Spider-Faunus made his way past the irritated giant with a wave of his hand. Apparently, I'm carrying something very important to the success of it, and you'll be doing something important too. I'm sure of it. Han's eyes narrowed dangerously as his fist clenched so tightly his arms started to shake. He would have tackled that little bastard to the ground and beaten down on him until he changed his tune. If he knew it wouldn't have, if he knew he wouldn't have started, if he wouldn't have started content with the Elysium members, then he could have shown them all just what this power he was blessed with could do. Is losing arguments and sharing spite with their comrades supposed to be a part of this job description as well? Because I don't think I'm quite fond of that aspect. And of course, there was the new blood he was going to have to test over this new mission. He looked over his shoulder at the shorter woman that walked up behind him wearing her new mask. He grumbled, "You do best not to consider him or his kind as our comrades. We're merely working together at the moment, but that could change at any time. So be careful. So be careful of them, because they may turn at the soonest possible chance they can get. Not much of a trusting type, are you?" The new blonde woman remarked as she secured her arm guards over her wrist. Well, they're hardly showing the trust back, and I have my eyes on you as well. The large Faunus turned to look over her suspiciously. After what happened last time, I have to be worried about you new ones. Roche nearly got us caught with his last investment, so if you do the same, I will not show you any leniency. You're quite the paranoid one, aren't you? She snarked and chuckled softly at Han's intense glare. Well, okay then, if words aren't enough, I guess I'll just show you what I can do. Blue flames danced down her palm and over her fingers as she smiled confidently. Hunting, Minto, I left some inventory paper on your desk. We needed to restock materials for the field agents. Got it, boss. The Mr. Council contacted us about the need for protective service as some diplomat makes his way to another kingdom. That's oddly vague. Yeah, he started talking about politics and it went clean through the others' ears. Okay, maybe I have someone else who can listen to that to take the call, and then you can work together on the escort. His subordinates nodded and headed off to prepare for the job. Minto made his way through the halls of Skigen, looking into the training room and seeing some of the new recruits struggle with their scenarios. He made his way past the break room, but paused when he looked inside to see someone idly chatting on the scroll. "Uncle, can you please not have personal calls in the break room?" "Oh, hey boss." The young woman greeted her boss with a smile, one hand holding a can of peanuts while the other held the scroll to her ears. "This isn't a personal call, by the way. I'm keeping contact while they're out working, surveillance and information and whatnot. Hey Wolf, this is Snake. I'm back. Code names. Almost convincing. Uncle winked and upended the can into her mouth before she started talking with her mouth full. "So I go on this date, we see a movie and go out to dinner and the works. It's all really cool until, surprise, she has a boyfriend. They start arguing and accusing each other, and it becomes painfully obvious that this was going to end badly. So I slip in and propose we. What? Oh, boo-hoo! You're surrounded by grin. Oh, get over it, you big baby. And no, I won't stop talking with my mouth full. In fact, get ready because I saw a big bag of unopened chips, and Mama's still hungry." Okay, he was going to have to call in later and see if everything was still okay. He left her and came back into his office. The huntsman sighed in defeat at the overwhelming amount of paperwork once again situated at his desk, but no amount of paperwork could ever take away from the fact that he and his team were doing was saving lives, and that made it all worth it. That's what he told himself, and he was sticking to it. Mr. Minato, sir. Minato clicked the intercom button. Yes, Yuzune, I have a call for you coming in from front desk. Can you hold it? I'm kind of swamped here. Sir, apparently it's Professor Ospin. Minato paused. Ospin? Headmaster Beacon Ospin? Yes, sir. Okay then. Minato cleared his desk and unblocked his projector before signing. Patch him through. Hello, Mr. Namikaze. Headmaster Professor Ospin. It is good to hear from you again. Minato tried to catch his folly before he could be heard, but Ospin's subtle smile told that he already noticed it. The blonde bit his lip before smiling. To what do I owe the pleasure? It's not every day I get a call from Beacon. I wish to update you on the matter you requested of me some years ago about your missing persons. Minato couldn't help the cold grip that suddenly took his heart and the drop in his stomach. He nearly froze but took a deep gulp and nodded. What is it? What changed? I'm sending you something. Minato's console dinged and he pulled up the files that were just sent to him. With a deep breath, he opened it and prepared for what he might see. He saw a picture of his son, unmistakably him, even after all these years, on some kind of form. What is this? It's an application form. I invited your son to come and join the new students arriving this semester at Beacon. I found him in a police station with a cohort of his in Vital and extended them both the invitation. He was initially a touch suspicious before finally agreeing. He and Miss Renzo will both be taking the entrance exam soon. I'll be sure to update you on their status if you want me to. Yes, I would appreciate that very much. Very well then. I hope this was what you were looking for, Minato. Good day. The call ended and silence filled the room. Minato, Shikaku walked walked in with a folder in his hand. I got some reports here about Minato. His former partner quickly dropped the folder and came to his friend's side. What's wrong? What happened? He's alive. Minato gasped, a big smile on his face and tears threatening to fall from his eyes. Oh my God, he's alive. Hunting. And so what are the chances the info we got out of that guy actually pans out? Well, considering it was Gurren during the interrogation, and we know how thorough she could be, I think our chances are pretty good. Guess we'll see if I was right or not when we get there. Both men looked up to see the former assassin had snuck up on them while they were talking. They separated quickly as she walked by them with a bored expression on her face. If I'm wrong, then I guess that's that. But if I'm right, then we had better be ready for a fight when we get there. Oh, we will be. Gurren looked over at Deidara as the blonde man cracked his knuckles and let some small explosions go off over his palm. I've been itching for a chance to properly stretch my legs again, and the chance to take down some evildoers seems like the perfect opportunity. You shouldn't get too angsty. We don't need you popping and exploding with energy with every chance you get just because you're excited. Gurren nodded in agreement with Reika as the larger man ran a whetstone over his blades. Deidara clicked his thumb irritably as the two older fighters conversed. The green-haired man securing his swords to his back. Are the rest of the team ready to move out? Yes, they are, although a few of them are concerned with what might happen. Why? They scoffed. We've done it like 100 of these missions before. We have, but none of them have taken one while Itachi has been incapacitated. Their just excited nature fizzled out as a reminder of their leader still waiting back at base camp. He frowned. Well, they had better get over it. They can't all just wait for Itachi to get better and lead them everywhere we go. We carry the symbol of the Uchiha too, so we don't have to solely rely on him. He'll still need time to recover. The stab wounds he received in his fight with that kid in Villon had been slow to heal, as well as the burns from cauterizing it. After a few days of rest and some time for his wounds to shut, he was back to normal. However, while he was weakened by his injuries, the dust in his arms had reacted badly, and his condition had gotten worse. His leader could barely use his right arm to fight anymore and was in too much pain to fight the battles they had to face. He did his best to hide it and fought the pain marvelously. But those that had been following him the longest noticed the condition he was in. So now they were here with a portion of the other members while the injured and trainees stayed at camp. We need to get him to a doctor to have that stuff removed from his arm before it's too late. I know, but he can be pretty damned stubborn sometimes. So it's going to be a trial to convince him to get it removed. Perhaps now is the time to be talking about this. Those matters can be settled once we are done here. Right. The Gurren shared a nod before they started walking out of the camp. Their followers stepping up behind them as the destination sat in their sights. The Gurren cracked his neck and lit up his hands. Let's go save the day. Hunting. Minato dashed to the doors the moment they were wide enough for him to slide through. Some people jumped back or gasped as he passed by them and slammed his hands down on the front desk. "Where's Naruto Uzumaki?" "Sir, this hospital. He's my son, and he's been hurt. What room is he in?" "Miss Namikaze." He whipped around and saw Naruto's friend Sasuke walking from down the hall. The young man looked tired, and his forearms were heavily bandaged, but Minato didn't even notice that as he appeared in front of the young man and grabbed his shoulders. "Where is he?" Sasuke looked aside in shame. Before looking over his shoulder, Minato followed his gaze to a door down the hall as the boy whispered, "I'm sorry." Minato nearly threw the young man aside and ran down the hall. He pushed the door open and stumbled in, eyes wide and breath caught in his throat. His son was laid back in the bed with a heart monitor beeping at his side, an IV injected through his arm as another machine helped him breathe. He was badly beaten and bruised, a cut splitting the bridge of his nose and bandages covering the arms held in a sling. Minato slowly approached his recovering son and saw more bandages over his chest that were hidden beneath the blanket. Minato hurried to the chair, and he collapsed back into it and gasped for air. This really wasn't fake. Aspen hadn't been lying. His son had nearly been killed in a fight in the city, and now here he was, the boy he had recently reconnected with, and saw look so big and strong, broken and beaten, and so close to the verge of death. "Oh God!" Minato whimpered as he leaned into the bed and grasped his son's hand, careful not to squeeze or hurt him any further. The man's mouth opened and closed in shock before he forced out a word. "How?" "My brother, Itachi." Sasuke appeared in the room, his eyes still locked on the ground, as he could not bring himself to look at the father and his injured boy. He found out about Naruto's past and hunted him down. "I thought I could stop him, but where is he? I don't know. Where can I find him? I don't. Where?" The heart monitor suddenly spiked, and they both looked down to see Naruto's eyes slowly peel open. They were too cloudy for him to be truly conscious, but the strange environment and pain in his body was making him react. His heart rate spiked, his body thrashed, his breathing became ragged, and any moment his semblance would kick in to protect him. Sasuke ran out the door and called for a doctor as the injured boy struggled. A hand tightly gripped his, and Naruto's frantic movement stopped him. "I'm sorry," Minato muttered to himself as the heart monitor started to even out. "This wasn't what was supposed to happen. I made a promise to protect you, and after all these years, when I finally saw you again, I thought you didn't need me anymore, but I was wrong. There's still so much there, and a small tear filled up the edge of Naruto's tired eyes as Minato's fell down his cheek. He gripped his son's hand with both of his and rested his forehead against it as he sobbed. "Hunting! Run! They're coming! They blocked the path! Quick! The emergency exit!" Minato appeared in the air in a flash of yellow as he dropped onto the rig's surface. He hid behind some equipment and watched some employees rush for the exit and make their way down. Good. The few of them caught up in the chaos, the easier it would be. The huntsman peeked around the corner and saw some White Fang members yell and unload the weapons into the air. Unfortunately, none of the dust the rig had been digging out was lying around, or any of those shots could have hit this place up like a candle. He ducked away when a group of White Fang soldiers started running his way. He looked up and spotted a high place away from the watch. In a flash, he appeared on top of it and had a vantage point across the entire rig. He watched several teams of White Fang members spread out and searched for any stragglers they could find. With a deep breath, he pulled out his scroll and sent a call to Atlas forces who waiting in Vale. They would come in time, and he'd make sure no more innocent people got hurt in the process. But he wasn't here just to fight him. He was here too. He scrunched together as his hands clenched into fists. "Hunting!" White stuttered and raised her basket. "Actually, I was going to drop off the basket. No rush. Take your time. We'll be out here." Osmond ducked out of sight. Minato followed after and pulled the door behind him before looking back at Weiss with a grateful smile. "Thank you for visiting." He closed behind him and followed Osmond down the hall and away from most of the traffic. "I didn't think she'd come and visit, considering what she knows now. The young ones always have a penchant for surprising us in the most shocking ways." Osmond noted as he stood across from Minato and waited patiently for his former student to get comfortable. So what might this discussion be about, I wonder? "I'm sure you already know, since you always do," Minato sighed. "I'm going to take you up on your offer. I'll act as the officiator of the tournament and stay here in Vale. And I'm sure the chance to keep an eye on your son while you're here is simply an added benefit." Osmond showed a small smile at Minato's unamused expression as he nodded sympathetically. After this horrifying experience, I cannot fault you for your change in decision. If you are taking this job solely to keep an eye on Naruto, then I will allow it. I just ask that when the time comes for you to test who will proceed to the tournament, that you will be fair and equal. I will, but I ask that this not be the only benefit in my coming to work in Beacon. Husband looked at him curiously, but Naruto was sure he already had an idea of what he was going to ask him. I want you to keep me updated on any changes in the White Fang or any sightings of the Uchiha and Veil. Minato, the old huntsman fixed the glasses up his bridge with a disapproving expression. The White Fang are notoriously difficult to keep track of due to their clandestine movements, and finding out any information on the Uchiha through legitimate means has been trying experience in itself. But that wouldn't stop you, right? Let me ask you this then. The headmaster looked directly into the blonde man's eyes. If there are changes in either of their status, and we do have something to offer, what will you do then? Minotaur's eyes narrowed. You know my answer. Hunting. Have the charges set. Han yelled out over the crowd of terrorists as they carried the explosives out to their designated positions. If you find any of the stragglers, gather them up. If the authorities show up, we'll need hostages. You sick bastard! Han looked over and saw a worker coming out of his hiding place with a machine gun. He aimed it at the horse. Take this and that! A wave of blue flames rushed out in front of the man and made him fall back, dropping his gun as it was heated up by the intense fire. Han watched the worker get apprehended before looking back at the source of the fire. Did you think I couldn't protect myself? Don't know. The figure cloaked in blue aura stepped up to his side as the feminine figure returned to normal. She chuckled behind her mask and looked up at his glaring eyes. I just acted on reflex. If you're insulted by me protecting you, then I can only suggest that you lighten up. Your definition of rescue is far too broad. You'll never hear me ask for help. They're coming. Help! The faunus looked over and saw one of their own round the corner while unloading his gun behind him. Before he could reach them, however, a dozen pink crystals covered the ground and knocked him off his feet. The White Fang stared at the phenomenon in surprise as they watched a group of shadows around the corner as well. Han's eyes narrowed. Oh, I think I remember some of these faces. Maybe when I make them cower in fear, I'll have a better recollection. Quite a high and mighty boast from someone attacking defenseless people just to make a point. Theodore and their Uchiha stopped and stood across from the White Fang. The White Fang must be getting pretty desperate if they have to rely on people like you to get the job done. Funny, last time I remember seeing you a lot was in Vacuum. You attacked us and tried to get me killed. Han crossed his arms and chuckled, and I remember leaving quite a few of you beaten and broken from your little surprise attack. They passed away, and believe me, we haven't forgotten. The Uchiha started to get into their battle stances. We'll make sure to repay you in kind when we're dismantling you and your fucking entourage. You know, I met another one of you recently in Dale. I nearly had the chance to kill that little one that carries your last name. Ring any bells? No idea who you're talking about. Huh, very well. Han got into a rough fighting stance as the White Fang raised their weapons. Watch carefully, newbie, because these lot are some of the biggest pains in our asses right now. Take them down, and we'll have cemented our success. He waited for a response and got none. Are you even listening? Yeah, success, whatever. She echoed while looking upwards. So am I going crazy, or do you see some guy standing up on the equipment as well? All eyes turned to the side to see the strange side of a man watching the fight from a high position. The Uchiha members looking between each other in panic. Hey man, you have to get out of here. We can't protect you. If you get caught up in this. You're the Uchiha, right? The band of people are coming together to fight the White Fang. The man casually asked while ignoring the warnings completely. He looked over to the other side and regarded the faunus next to him. So you both really did show up. I guess I'll have to pay Jiraiya back as thanks for the big good intel. I understand that you all are itching for a fight. So, I'll make this quick. Naruto called out so both sides could hear him. Down to Shimura and Itachi Uchiha. Where might I find these men? Itachi, the little whispered before scowling and stepping forward. What the hell do you want with him? I have business with them both. Buzz off. Han growled and glared up at the man. I don't know who you think you are, but no human has any right to ask has something of a heel dug into Han's cheek before he could finish his sentence. The massive man was knocked off his feet and thrown into his men before his attacker disappeared in an instant. They were gagged as a foot struck him in his chest and knocked him back into the Uchiha behind him. Both sides were instantly at arms as Naruto appeared in the space between them in a yellow flash. The blonde man reached back and drew two knives before spinning them over his fingers and pointing each end at one of the groups. I asked you a question about your leaders. If you all want to kill each other, that's fine, but they're mine, and I'm not done until I get what I want from them. The blonde man's eyes hardened to dangerous levels. People of both sides freezing from the intent he leaked out. He was going to get his revenge on the men that ruined and attacked his family, and anyone who dared stand in his way be damned. So who would like to answer now? Extra, Google it. Ruby and Noctix froze in the hallways when they saw the rows of people huddled by the wall in defeat. The two teams slowly made their way through as they heard the lines of people sobbing, whimper pitifully. He's a monster. We can't stop him. It's the end of us all. But both teams slowly came up to Juniper's door, slightly cracked open, while rays of light danced out into the hallway. It also seemed like the beginning of where all these lines of broken people started. With the gulp, Ruby stepped forward and pushed the door open. Her team and friends huddled behind her in preparation for whatever they might see. Lauren people were unconscious, a sheen of sweat over the bodies as they lay defeated on the ground. John was beside them, struggling for air in clothes drenched in sweat and possibly other fluids. He looked up at them with tears in his eyes and cried, "It's impossible! There's just no way!" All eyes turned to the center of the room where Ren desperately kicked out and slammed his feet on the colored pants. The green-clad boy was drenched in sweat and struggling to breathe even as his feet danced away at the blinding speeds. The screen displayed his score, 837,929 and rising. His opponent had already broken 99 million. Sorry, but he really loves this game. He turned and looked at Konkoro, Tamara, and Lee, watching the impossible sight as if they were accustomed to it. We would try to keep him away from these games as much as possible in Vakio, but Nor offered, and we couldn't stop him. He didn't strike me as the type that liked dancing games. Yeah, he's full of surprises like that. The song ended and both boys slammed down on the pad, but while Ren collapsed to his hands and knees, his opponent simply wiped his forehead with a sigh. Looking at the screen and seeing his overwhelming victory, he clicked his teeth in disappointment. I expected more from the best dancers in Beacon, but I suppose you're only so good. You entertained me, if only for a short time, so I shall show mercy, hone your skills, and challenge me again when you are considerably better. They all stepped aside and let the raccoon boy walk past them as his semblance handed him his guard, and a towel. As their friends made their way out, Naruto called out, "See you at lunch, Gara." "I'm not Gara." The miracle dancer stopped and turned back to the crowd of people. "I'm Gara of the Funk." Yeah, Gara of the Funk. Who the hell's messing with the lights? Screw the lights. Whose voice was that? As the crowd panicked and the residents of Beacon delved into hysteria, the greatest dancer in history strode down the hall with his head held high. His teammates, on the other hand, dragged their feet beside him as Kankuro palmed his face. "I thought we'd be rid of this shit when we came to Beacon." End of chapter 60.